Well, you can't on a live thing.
Yeah, I did.
Hey everyone, Jonquil Newland here. Myself and Nathan, who's in the driver's seat, I'd like to add. We are just a few miles away from the Board of Education. Beginning now, they were going to give all the news outlets a quick update as to what's happening with Metro Schools. And technically, we want to know, why wasn't school called off? Metro Schools is one of the only districts in this area, in Middle Tennessee, that did not call off school, and that was obviously a problem for a lot of parents. We were getting reports into the news. Did that pause?
I don't know.
Am I live still? Sorry, guys. So they're waiting on the news and information leader to get there, since obviously the roads are very slick and we're getting there as quickly as we can and as safely as we can. But the big questions, as I was saying earlier, we've got a lot of reports from parents who have spent more than an hour trying to get their children to school this morning, then to get there and then learn that school is not going to be called off a half day early. So now the parents have to get back to get their children. It's just become very frustrating, I can say, for a lot of the, obviously, teachers, the parents, and the students who are kind of hoping, I'm sure, for an actual snow day. So I'm going to turn the camera around. We're on Bransford Avenue right now, and this is what the road looks like. So we are, it is slick. So if you guys are out there, be careful. And if you don't have to go out, as you remember all of our crews saying last January, don't go out at all. There's no need to. You could just end up in an accident or cause an accident, and that's never a good thing. Also, a lot of reports this morning of school buses that may have had a little slippage happening throughout the roadways. So we're going to ask those questions as well as we get to the Board of Education, and it's literally less than a half mile from where we're at right now. So I just got a call from some of the school officials. They know we're on their way. They're holding off this press conference until we get there. Oh no.
That
Sorry.
train coming?
I know. Yes, I see a train coming. We have to make this. Please, oh no.
Uh-oh. Is there another way around? Yeah, it's coming.
Oh no. Maybe it's stopping. Well, everyone else is going. There aren't any gates down. Let's try it. I gotta try it. Gun it.
I'm trying.
Well, that train literally isn't stopping. The gates aren't down though.
The gates aren't going down. Okay,
maybe it is. I don't know, that gentleman on the back didn't seem like, oh, there it goes. Oh, we made that.
I feel like Indiana Jones.
You feel like Indiana Jones?
That's right. Left my hat back there.
Oh man, that was close, guys. Ooh, if we had caught that train, I don't know if we would have made this press conference at all. But anyway, we are literally about to pull up to the Board of Education right now, and I'll just keep my phone on since I'm not going to end up taking much else in with me at the moment. We don't know who exactly is going to be speaking at this press conference with the schools. We don't know where Dr. Joseph is at the moment, but I do want to, I was just thinking about this as I was watching the news this morning and also heading into work, that this is the first winter that Dr. Joseph and a lot of his new employees here at the school system has experienced, and maybe people don't really get just how serious the road conditions get in the South and just how people have such a hard time on it. Maybe that's one of the reasons why school was not called off yesterday. But we will ask those questions, obviously, once we get inside. So at the moment we are parking, and I'm going to turn the camera around so you can kind of see what's happening. Well, yeah, this will work. Give me a second. I'm going to put on my gloves, so I'm going to put down the camera, but... Oh, great. Can't push my phone. Okay, so, just let everybody see. Hey, Nathan, do you need me to carry in anything? If not, I'm just going to head in and let them know that we're here.
I don't think so, because it's just probably tripod camera.
Okay. All right, well then I mean, they're
going to go in there and find out what's happening, and I'll be there in just a second.
Okay, all right, see ya.
pull all of these. Channel 5's camera says
He's
all right, yeah.
he's walking in right behind me.
Oh, okay, you want us to give you just a second?
Yes, if you wouldn't mind.
Okay,
Thank you
let's
guys so
give them
much.
Just 1 second, guys. Do we need to let him in a side
what?
door? Or
No, he's coming in this
coming
way.
front?
I'm sure he'll take my spot, so I
Yeah,
won't be saying
no
anything.
My device is telling me this is my most watched video ever, even though you haven't said a word yet. Is that your first? No. Most important.
It's always better this way.
I know,
Just
but
hit
I don't know how to.
the live button. You're on Facebook.
All right.
Doing this.
Do you want
Yep,
to
that's-
attach it? Is that okay?
Don't have a contraption at the moment. That'll work.
Do you know white balance or anything? Just give me a second.
Everybody ready?
We're getting there.
All right, good morning. We want to share all of the information we have about what took place this morning and what went into the decisions that were made. First, let me say we understand the concern and frustration that today has caused for many of our families and staff members. Student and staff safety is always our #1 priority. We make the decision whether or not to open our schools based on whether it's safe for our school buses to travel. That's the main concern that guides our decision making. We've been closely monitoring weather forecasts since yesterday. This morning, our inclement weather team was out monitoring road conditions starting at 3 a.m. By approximately 5 a.m., the reports from our inclement weather team indicated that road conditions were safe for our buses to travel. At that time, weather reports also indicated that the winter weather would be further south and not directly affect Davidson County. When weather conditions changed early this morning, we already had some students at school, since our high schools start at 7 a.m., and other children were on buses headed to school. As the snow began to fall, we started receiving reports from transportation supervisors, bus drivers, and parents that road conditions were worsening. At that time, we made the decision to dismiss school early today and begin to put processes in place to get all of our students back home quickly and safely. The question has been asked why we couldn't simply cancel and dismiss students immediately. We have approximately 750 school buses that transport approximately 50,000 students to and from school each day. And we have a 3-tiered transportation system where the same school buses are used to transport high school, then elementary, and then middle school students in that order. We also have to give parents ample notice so that when students are dropped off, someone is home to meet them and let them in the door. Again, we want to acknowledge that this morning's events have been disruptive and concerning for everyone, and we share those concerns. We made the best decisions that we could with the information we had at the time the decision needed to be made. Right now, our focus is on getting all of our students home safely. I'm happy to answer any of the questions that you may have.
Is
One-
there anything, Chris, you would have done differently at this point, just in the few hours you've had since this occurred?
We made the best decision we feel like with the information we had, realizing that conditions changed. If we would have known that those conditions were going to change, obviously we would have made a different decision, yes.
Do you think there's obviously, this is Dr. Joseph's first winter in Nashville, and a lot of the central staff members who also accompany him as being the first winter here in Nashville. Do you think there may have not been a clear understanding of exactly how drastic the road and weather conditions can change with our trucks and buses and TDOT crews on the road as well?
It didn't have anything to do with Dr. Joseph being here, and this is his first year. The decision was made initially through the transportation department and through my office, and so that would not have affected the decision at all.
When is that final cutoff point where you make the decision whether or not to close schools?
We try to make the decision by 5 a.m. because many of our buses begin their routes by 5:30 since our high school start at 7 o'clock. And so we made the decision to open schools at 5 a.m. based upon current road conditions and the weather forecast at that time.
Chris, I saw a bus having some problems getting up Hill Road this morning, I think. We've also, I think all of us have taken pictures of some buses that have been stalled or the side of the road. Do you know how many, and if there were any kind of incidents involving injury or any problems of that sort?
We haven't received any reports at all of any injuries. We know we've had some minor fender benders where cars maybe have slid into buses or buses slid into cars or into a mailbox, but nothing serious and no injuries have been reported. We do know we have some buses that we are working to make sure that the students are either getting to school or that the buses will be at the high schools in time to begin the early dismissal process.
Do you know how many buses were impacted?
At this time, we don't have a number, but we're still working through that.
Half dozen?
We're thinking less than a dozen.
Is there any concern about letting kids out early and the roads not being clear at 11:30, noon?
We don't think that the road conditions are going to improve, and so we feel like the best decision was to get students home as quickly as we could in an organized fashion, and again providing ample time for parents to be made aware that we were going to be dismissing early. And so we don't feel like that it would have been helpful to hold students at school any longer. The weather is going to be cold the rest of the day, and so we felt like the best decision was to dismiss early.
Apparently some schools are dismissing on a bus-to-bus basis as they arrive. I mean, is that your understanding? That's what I've seen on Twitter and elsewhere.
We've heard some reports of that, and we're looking into it, and so that'll be something we'll be addressing.
Is that something you're okay with if kids have already left some of their schools?
We have a protocol that we follow for early dismissal, and we expect all schools and buses to follow that, and so we'll be looking into any indications that protocol wasn't followed.
We've heard from a lot of parents who have been very frustrated and angry that their kids were already on the buses when the roads were already bad. What do you have to say to them?
Well, it goes back to the statement where we begin to make that decision at 5 a.m. As buses begin at 5:30, and so at that particular time, there was not an issue. Road conditions were in good shape, and we really didn't start seeing the decline in the weather until approximately 6:30. And so at that time, high schools had already started dropping off students and were beginning their next route, which is the elementary route. And so it's not something that can be unwound immediately. And so that's the reason we have a protocol for early dismissal, so that it can be handled in an organized fashion, and also so that parents can be notified that we are dismissing early.
What accommodations are you going to be making for students who might not be able to get home or might miss the bus?
We're going to make sure that all students get home, and so we'll monitor that on a school-by-school basis. Any students, of course, that didn't attend school today will have an excused absence, and so we'll make sure that all of our students get home.
This obviously puts a really big strain on the bus drivers and the parents who have spent more than an hour trying to get their kids to school, then to learn that they have to come back and get them early to school. Is there anything you want to say to those who are most affected by all of this?
Yeah, we apologize. We realize that it's been very frustrating for everyone, and the timing was very unfortunate as far as the weather change, right in the middle of what we're going through in transporting students to school in the morning. And so the timing played the biggest impact, as well as the fact that the forecast didn't pan out. But again, we're sorry, and we understand the frustration, and we share that frustration.
Were you keeping tabs at the decision-making of some of the neighboring school districts and how they decided to close before the start of the day?
We always look at that, and we realized again that the forecast was for the winter weather to be further south, and so the school districts to our north opened on time, and the initial indication through the forecast was that the winter weather would not come as far north as Davidson County, and the southern part of the county is where we saw the majority of the issues that we experienced.
Okay, thank you guys.
One more question, actually. I know there's a sign possibly outside of John Early Middle School right now saying, kind of warning people not to get on the roads or students to come to school. Do you know anything about that situation at John Early at the moment?
I don't.
Real quick, some people might wonder why you're at the press conference as opposed to Dr. Joseph addressing the reporters. Can you explain kind of that decision making?
Sure. The ultimate decision is through the Transportation Department, and as Chief Operating Officer, that department reports up through me. And so I was involved when that decision was made at 5 a.m. And so that's the reason that I'm here. I have the most information regarding what took place in the decision-making process.
Will this incident today kind of determine how you, how the school system reacts in weather events to come?
Sure. We'll look at this as a learning experience, and we will debrief, and anything that we need to change in our protocols or our processes, we will. But it's something that we will look at as far as an attempt to make a better decision next time.
Transportation during this time of year when snow falls has always been in trouble for the district. I mean, every year that I've done this, it sounds like you guys have looked at it. So, I mean, what is going to be, or do you know what's going to be done in the future to possibly make sure that this doesn't happen again?
Well, in this particular case, there's really not a whole lot that can be done because, again, we feel like the best decision was made at the time that we had the information that we had. And so, if that, hindsight's always 20/20. And if we knew that the weather conditions were going to worsen and we're not going to follow forecast, we would have made a different decision.
Okay, thank you guys, that's a wrap.
Chris, how do you spell your name?
I'll take
Okay,
a
sure,
card as
that'd be
well. if you
great.
don't mind.
And so again, you are the one that makes the final decision in terms of whether or not to close schools.
And notify,
And notify.
Dr. Joseph of that decision.
Okay.
Yes.
So Dr. Joseph isn't involved in that decision-making process?
Yes, he has not been.
Okay.
Will he be in the future?
That'll be up to him.
Excuse me.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mm-hmm.
Decision making on this, and we want to get it right. We want to make sure kids are safe. That's a big thing. So
There was
thank
a
you all.
perception that, you're coming from around Washington DC. Any chance that this kind of weather around Nashville might have caught you off guard?
Not at all. It's the same. I mean, we made the best decision we could make at the time we had with the information that we had. So,
Are you
Yeah.
going to be involved in any future decisions regarding school closings?
no, we make. I think our process is strong now. We made a good decision today. We made a good decision based upon the information we had. In hindsight, we would have changed it. We would have had maybe a 2-hour delay to look into it, so we have more time. But like I said, at 5 o'clock, it was the best decision to be in school. So that's what we did.
Thank you, Dr. Joseph.
Thank you, Chris. Okay, so there we have it. Dr. Joseph did end up, just as all the news crews kind of bombarded him, was able to answer just a couple questions. And I think the consensus is, in hindsight, they would have changed how everything is done, changed the way that they would